Austria's parliament has passed a new law making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory for adults. It is the first European country to approve such a wide-reaching measure. So far, only 72% of Austrians have been fully vaccinated against the coronavirus, one of the lowest rates in Western Europe.
137 in favour to 33 against. Austria's vaccine mandate passed by a clear majority. In a first for any European country, legislators said it was a drastic but necessary step. Compulsory vaccination isn't something we wanted, but unfortunately it's become a necessity to close the big vaccination gap in Austria. It's my deep conviction that only then will we have a realistic chance at regaining the life we had before the coronavirus. From early February, everyone over the age of 18 must be vaccinated, with exceptions for those who are pregnant, have a medical exemption, or have recently recovered from COVID-19. After an introductory phase, anyone still holding out could be fined thousands of euros. Thousands have joined regular street protests against restrictions and vaccination. A few hundred protesters gathered outside Parliament in Vienna as votes were cast. But inside, only the far-right Freedom Party voted against the mandate. Their leader said he would continue to refuse to be vaccinated. This vaccine mandate is an act of disenfranchisement. With a single blow, millions of Austrians are being downgraded. They're not independent, sovereign people anymore. They're sinking to the level of subjugated people, of servants. The bill must now pass the upper house, and the Freedom Party has vowed to challenge it in court.
Spain has one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, and it's also now looking at an exit strategy from the pandemic. It says it is time to start treating COVID-19 like any other endemic seasonal respiratory disease. It might be a view that resounds with the Spanish public, but it doesn't yet have the backing of the experts. DW's Jan-Philipp Scholz reports now from Madrid.
Cafes full of people enjoying the sun in the Spanish capital. Some guests may even have COVID. The infection rate is breaking records by the day. But it seems like almost nobody here cares. Apart from a general mask mandate, few measures are being taken against the virus. We must free ourselves of this fear. You can't live in constant fear. The damage that this virus can still do has lessened considerably recently. We are learning to live with the virus, just as we have with the flu virus and with others. This relaxed attitude is partly based on Spain's vaccination success. More than 80% of Spaniards have been jabbed at least twice. While the number of hospitalizations has been rising for weeks, the high death rate seen in earlier waves has been absent. That's why Spain's government has now taken a radical step. There will no longer be mass testing or strict quarantine rules in the future. Instead, the infection rate will only be estimated. A flu instead of a deadly pandemic. This is how Prime Minister Sanchez wants to treat the coronavirus in the future, and he sees himself as a pioneer in Europe. But there are also critics that say that it's too early for such experiments. They point out that many Spanish clinics continue to work at their limit. One of Spain's leading experts, Isabel Sola, also urges caution. She conducts research on the coronavirus at the National Center for Biotechnology. We must stay prepared for surprises. The virus development is simply unpredictable. Of course, it wants to keep spreading. That may result in a weakening of symptoms that it causes, but the opposite can also happen. At the moment, it seems as if it's the people in Spain who want to surprise the coronavirus with their new attitude. After 2 years of pandemic, they seem to no longer want to believe that the virus can still be dangerous.
Let's take a quick look now at some of the other developments in the pandemic. Germany has reported a record number of new coronavirus infections, more than 140,000 in a single day. That's 48,000 more new cases than this time last week. France will begin to lift COVID-19 restrictions on February 2nd, thanks to what are being called encouraging signs that the wave of Omicron variant infections is ebbing. And the World Bank has approved a $750 million loan to South Africa, aimed at helping the poor, it says, recover from the effects of the pandemic.